Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest all the way from the UK is Ebony Gayle. We're going to be talking about your business, actually how to actually get business. How to become a consultant. Now, I know this is quite a trend right now. Everybody out there is a consultant or a coach, and you're competing with other people. How do you have an edge? What are you bringing to the table? Are you actually prepared for it? It may be a good idea, but if you don't have the right tools in your backpack, it may not be such a good idea. So we're going to be learning today about what tools, what skills, how to go about it, how to break away from the 9-to-5 job and step into consultancy, because it truly is a wonderful career. And no matter what you've done, there are tools that you can bring forth with you into this, but you've got to do it right in order to be able to sustain and also compete with the market. And that's where we're going to have the edge today. Welcome to the show, Ebony.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, first, a little background so people know a little bit about you. So, why should they listen to you about consultancy?
Okay, well, let me give you a little bit of background about myself. So my name is Ebony Gayle, as the introduction says, and I'm an independent PR and communications consultant. And I've been working in PR for well over a decade. Started out in the normal way, as in, you go through the education process. I went to school, went on to, in the UK, we go on to college, from college you go on to university. And I did that, although I started out more on the creative side, mind you, I actually went to a performing arts school. And so I did a bit of dancing and also done graphics. And then I took a module, which I really fell in love with, which was a marketing module. And from
what is that?
A marketing module.
Oh, marketing. Okay.
Yeah. And doing that is what actually got me interested in doing PR. So decided to go into university, and I took a degree in business communications. And at first, as I came out of university, I was kind of thinking, all right, I would go into advertising. But I didn't, because once I'd done a bit more research in advertising, I found that, the creative was quite separate from the business aspect of it, whereas PR, you got to mesh the two of them together. You got to bring your creative and your business acumen. So for me, that was the best route. So went off and started out, working in PR, worked my way up, and found that, I enjoyed my job, of course, but I found it really stifling in terms of, the way you have to work. Everybody has to work this 9-to-5, or it's not even 9-to-5 these days. It's more like 9-to-6, 9-to-7, yes. If not longer. We're a 24-hour society. Media is always, it's 24 hours. And obviously me being in PR, I was dealing with a lot of media. And I was working with quite a lot of high-profile organizations. So whilst the roles itself was enjoyable, but I felt like, is this what my life's going to be? Like, you don't have enough time. I'm a mother as well, and for me, my daughter is growing up, going through nursery, going into primary school. Sorry, over here it's primary school, and adjusting to that and trying to keep your life balance going, whilst trying to pursue your career and trying to have a life in general. It's a lot to handle, and I feel like we're kind of forced into this peg of this is what you're supposed to do, and that's what you've got to follow. So for me, consulting came as a way out. It's actually a way out of the 9-to-5. It's a way to escape it, and it's a way to kind of control your life. I always wanted to have my own business, so I thought, well, what can I do to do that and get, to help alleviate my stresses that I felt from, being caged in a 9-to-5. Yes. So again, I thought, well, actually, I really thought about doing freelance, and I thought, well, actually, why don't I become independent, and then I can consult that way, just try it out, Of course, I had people in my ear, are you sure, you're leaving a secure job,
The security.
The security, exactly. And I'm like, well, what security? I mean, let's be real. I mean, especially, over in the UK, we've got 0 contract hours. I mean, you've got the things that you have to deal with now. It's just like, really, it's not really secure. No. So I believe the days of security are long gone, and it's about creating your own security, essentially. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It was a case of I had to do that to get that kind of peace of mind You know, I felt like I was driving myself crazy. I'm trying to, you know, get things done on the work side, get things done at home. And it was just getting to the point where it was taking its toll on me.
Right.
And I did fall into depression at one point. You know, with things like, you know, employers putting stresses on us as they do.
Yes.
I remember being in one particular role, and in that actual one role, I was head of the department. So I looked after the press for the department, basically, for one particular directorate, which was a children's directorate. So it's quite a well-known organisation in the UK. And at the time, my daughter was transitioning from nursery to primary school. So in the UK, nurseries had longer work hours. So it'd be like from 8 till 6. So you sort of covered for the sort of 9 to 5 gap. So I was always okay in terms of sorting out childcare. But once you got to primary school stages, the hours are slightly different. So I had to ask for a change in my hours, which created a whole, you know, issue, and left me in a position of, you know, they were telling me no, literally. And it was a case of, well, you either, you know, what am I going to do? You know, it's my child or my job, and there's no brainer, it's going to be my child. So, but for others, and I think of other women out there who are put in a position, and it's just like, it's just so unfair, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, that was one thing that really sent me spiraling a little bit. And I thought, well, actually, I've got to get control of this, because you don't feel like you're in control of your life. So, and that's how I felt. And I thought, well, I've got to, you know, rectify this. Can't go through life moaning about it. So that was one point where I thought, okay. And I took it upon myself and handed my notice. And what was interesting is that I did that. I didn't have a job lined up at the time. In my mind already, I thought I'm going to set up and do my own thing. And then I went through a couple of interviews, which were just sort of short-term type contracts. And I ended up getting 2 job offers. One was actually for a longer term. And in fact, one of them, I went for the role. Didn't get that role, but the lady liked me so much, she planned to create a role for me. And then the second one was just a straightforward role that I know I could just go in to do it is for a year. And the other one was longer. So I went for the year because I thought, actually, this will give me enough time to get myself up and running. But actually, recession hit in the UK. So it got to a point where I was like, oh, do I dip out or do I do not? And so I stopped there for a couple more years, actually. And then my itchy feet came back again. It was like, you know, I know this is not what I really want to do. I did it because it was a turbulent time. But, you know, there's always that doubtful voice in your head that's like, oh, do you want to do that? And then you've got to take control. The other voice has to come through and say, well, yes, actually, I do want to do that. So, so in terms of consulting, I've been consulting since sort of the end of 2013. So like 5 years, I've been doing it on my own independently, enjoy it. And I would recommend others to do it. Hence why I penned the book, How to Become a Consultant, a guide to free yourself from 9 to 5. I just want to help other people understand that, yes, you can get out. And I felt trapped, so I can completely identify in that sense, you know, but it's possible.
It's also being prepared for it. You know, the thing is, you know, it's great to throw in the towel and go, I'm leaving. But then if you don't have a backup plan, you know, then you're throwing yourself into more stress.
Absolutely.
And, you know, you knew that you were going to go and take something else temporarily, you know, to bridge the gap, which ended up being a bit longer, which was sensible. But then that gives you also time to parallel. You know, while you're working, you know, well, you know, this is a good technique. This is something I can bring over into my own consulting. And you're simultaneously working on your plan, on your blueprint. Now, I've got several blueprints and have had them for a while. And it's only now that I'm actually beginning the building blocks of them. And so sometimes we get this plan and we think, well, I should follow it now. I've had it for a year. No, you have to wait for the timing to be right. And you'll know when the time is right, because then everything goes in sync very well. If you're getting kind of resistance, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It might need tweaking, or it just simply might not be the time. Right. So
absolutely.
There's a lot of common sense. There's a lot of preparation, but there's also an awful lot of intuitiveness that you need to have, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I think that's quite important to think about. But and also sometimes, like you said, you do have your plans, and sometimes you're going to have setbacks. But you also have to recognize that that's also just a part of your life journey. You know, setbacks, you're always going to have them. You know, whether you're rich or poor, you're going to have setbacks. Okay, there's no discrimination with setbacks. So that happens to everybody. But it's about how you respond to it and what you really want. And I feel like, you know, if you're going to become a consultant, in my book I talk about, you know, making sure you are skilled properly, because a consultant essentially is somebody who provides expert knowledge in their field, you know, to other businesses. So what knowledge do you have out there? What is it that you can draw on? And that's the really key question. And if you and actually you want to do something that you enjoy, because obviously you don't want to go off and start this new career and you actually hate it. You're not going to want to get up in the morning.
Well, you're not going to get too many clients that way.
No,
because,
you won't
in business today, which has been so emphasized, is that when you love what you do what you love, and the people love receiving what you do.
They do.
So,
they do.
and people know that. They know when it is a passion, it is a conviction of yours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's, when they really want you. But if it's a resistance within you, why are they going to hire you?
Exactly. It is. It's just got kind of demand supply kind of mentality. You need to want it. But, and so, I completely get that. And I feel like that's something that sometimes can get lost in translation. It's like, you see the big dream and you think, okay, this is my way out. It can be a great way out, but like you said, it's about making sure it's one that works and will fit for you and that you feel comfortable and qualified to do. So, and I also talk about the fact that even if you're not qualified, then you can go and do courses. There's online training. Like for me, in this day and age, there is no reason why you cannot learn new skills. I mean, online YouTube is like its own university itself.
It is. It's amazing. If I need how to do something, the YouTube's going there. Okay, now I do that.
Exactly. I do it all the time now. It's interesting to see how people turn to YouTube for information. So there is information out there, and I feel like it's about taking that time to reflect and think, what can I do? And I do talks on this. So I deliver talks on escaping the 9 to 5. And a lot of the questions that I get is, well, how do you transition? And I always say, take your time, don't just jump out of it, because obviously everyone's got bills to pay. Let's be realistic here. This isn't a kind of get rich quick thing. This is a case of, you need to build your business up. So, one of the things that I recommend is looking at whether you can go down to part-time, giving yourself, as long as you can, to do that, and then give yourself enough time to work on your consultancy business, or a case of maybe taking some time out to go and study so that you can pick up the acquired skills that you want to go into. So for example, if you want to become a beauty consultant, or you've got passion for that, you can go and get the right skills and start offering services. So it does take time, and it doesn't mean that you have to jump into it. You can take a measured approach so that you feel comfortable. And I always said, even another guy that I worked with, and he's changed position, and he came out of a job that he couldn't stand and is now, working in the creative field and really happy. But it took time. We looked at going over his CV to make sure he's given the right information, because he decided he wanted to change job focus. He's doing something that he enjoys now, but had to take the steps, to get there. And that's all it is. It's about, line up your steps and taking the action.
You may be a person that's been dancing the waltz for a long time. Now you want to do the tango. Well, in order to perfect the tango, you've got to, practice. And
exactly.
I think the other thing, of course, whenever things don't go as planned, there's always the naysayers. I told you you couldn't do it, and it's like, shut the door on that. Because failure is when you don't get back up. You just give up. But you're going to land on your backside many a time, and it's each time you get up, you go, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And that goes in your do not do file, and it's go, well, what if I try this? And you keep trying until you go, this works. So you've got to have that tenacity, and you've got to block the naysayers. The other thing, I think, as you said with YouTube, but it's listening to people like you, reading your books, knowing that you've been there, you've already paved the path. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to walk your step by step, but the inspiration and the knowledge that you give them helps them define their own steps.
Exactly. And I feel like everyone has their own journey. I'm a very big believer in that. I believe in being yourself, which I think is difficult to do in the workplace, because that was something that even I had to transition, because I feel like, in the workplace, you're supposed to be a certain way. And so you're kind of indoctrinated into it. Exactly.
I am a PR inspirational person.
Exactly. And then you think your kind of your inner self, your true self, your inner child and everything it's kind of dying down
Yeah.
inside, and kind of
Yes.
humbling them down inside. So it's a case of actually taking a step back and saying, actually, what is it? Who am I really? Where am I really going? Am I going along with the flow because my mum said that I should go to this college, or my mum said I should do this course, or my dad said that, or another peer that I really respect said that I should do this and I'd be good at that, but actually in my heart I don't want to do that. And there's so many of us living like that, you know.
We're not listening from the inside out. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
it's like when somebody hires you, they're hiring you because they see the potential, or they see the synergy, they see the personality, and then they systematically, like everything else in society, start trying to drone you, you know, and box you, and don't want that. But that's what you hired me for, right? And then we start questioning ourselves. Well, you know, what am I doing wrong? Or am I too much? Or this, am I not enough? And the thing is that when you become comfortable with yourself and the inside, and you're doing something again from the heart, you love doing this, you do it for no pay, but pay is the reason why I can get up every day and do it, right? And that you know, you get up every morning excited to go to work. Right. And that when you found that, you know, it's something that really means that much to you, you'll always find a way. You know, even if it's down and up, you'll find a way all the time, and you won't lose yourself.
No.
And that's, I think, the biggest problem with corporations is that everybody becomes cubicalized and not individual. And if they embrace the individual of what you're bringing, and it's about bringing all those wonderful spices of people together to create a harmonious meal. And that's what you're really looking for, right? And so it's the same as a consultant when you're looking for clients. It's not going to be, oh, I've got a dozen clients, but oh God, 10 of them I can't stand. No, you've got to connect with people where you see a synergy. Otherwise, it's not going to work, is it?
Absolutely. I believe that to be very true. So a lot of the work that I do is with startups. So I do a lot of consulting with startups. At the moment, I'm trying to move more into where I get to just, you know, coach them on what they need to do. So that's where I'm pivoting towards now. But a lot of the time I've done consultancy work with startups or established businesses. And so yes, it's about working with those that you have some sort of synergy with and you have a nice respectful relationship. I mean, I've had to also, I talk about in the book about, you know, when you are looking for clients, making sure you go for quality clients and not being scared to say, no, sorry, I won't do this, because you'd be surprised at sometimes what you can be put in and what kind of positions you can be put in as a consultant. You know, I've been asked by clients to do unethical things, which I've walked away from because, you know, I respect my business and I'm thinking that's not what I want for my business. Obviously, it's also difficult too for those who are coming up and they're thinking, you know, I sit in a lot of forums and it's interesting to see consultants pop in and say, oh, I've had this client and, you know, they're refusing to pay me or they're refusing to do this and that. And sometimes you have those issues, like I say in the book, in terms of work, you know, you're going from being employed where you're used to having a salary every month and you know, day it comes, to a risky side, which is basically, you don't know. If you're consulting, obviously, if you, which I advise, is to make sure you try and get contracts in place and have minimum agreements. So if you're working 3 to 6 months or a bit longer, so then you know you have a certain amount of money coming in at a particular time. But essentially, it's still going to be a risk. And, you know, that's something that, you know, if you really want to do it, you have to be really aware of that and embrace it, because actually it's just part of that journey, you know. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that you also talk about naysayers, because, you know, I've had some of that, you know, and I know a lot of others who have as well. And it's also about your mindset. And I talk about this a lot as well. Mindset is so important. And our biggest issue is usually ourselves. You know, we get in our way a lot of the time. And it's a lot of the time, it's our own self-limiting beliefs that, you know, we've got these ideas from where we don't even know ourselves sometimes.
Society's conditions. Society says you must be, and then we go along and, well, if we're not good enough, you know? Yeah,
absolutely. So there's a lot of that being thrown at us. So it's also, again, your family influences. Sometimes, you know, your parents may not have believed in you or may not have encouraged you in a certain thing. And so you've developed this new sense in your mind that you're not good at that and you haven't tried it yet. You know, so you know, there's things like that, you know, that happen.
What makes you think you can do that?
It's like, well, who do you think you are?
Yes.
It's like, well, no. It's like, well, you know, you are a person you are limitless and you can do whatever your heart, you know, is set on. But it's about taking the steps and knowing that actually internally having that conversation. Sometimes you have that conversation when you're saying to yourself, shut up, basically, because your doubting voice is coming through saying you can't do it, you know. So I think that's also really important as a consultant, to have your mindset, you know, right. And I always say, you know, look after yourself, and also to reward yourself. It's something that I'm trying to pick up myself more, because I find that I'll just keep going and going and going. Reflecting is really important. Take time to reflect and look at what you have achieved, and celebrate the small wins as well.
Yes,
you know?
it's also, I mean, don't get so stressed. You know, we were talking before we went on air that I used to do live shows with another network, and you know, the people who got dropped or didn't turn up, or some technical problem went on, and it got very stressful. And when I started my own network here in selfdiscoveryradiotv.com, it was a huge learning curve. You know, I look at those first shows to now, obviously over the last 5.5 years, a lot has been learned. And we were just a podcast beforehand. We've recently gone into video as well. And it literally was, well, if I want to do this, I've got to learn how to do it. And, you know, you've got people saying, but you should do this and you should do that. And a lot I get is, well, it shouldn't be any longer than 15 minutes. And I say, you know, I'm a specialty station. This is something you have to decide. What are you? I'm a specialty station. I'm honoring people's life's journeys. All the wisdom they've accumulated. And now they're imparting that wisdom to you. And it's free for you to listen to. If you can't take an hour out of your time to listen to that, you're not ready for the information.
Absolutely. I get where you're coming from. And I don't feel like you can do that in 15 minutes.
No,
you know,
that's just an intro. That's just an intro. And the thing is you've got to decide what are going to be your parameters. You know, for your integrity and your reputation is going to be worth more than any money in the bank.
Absolutely.
Right? And you've got to decide, what are your limits? How far will you go? How far are you willing to stretch yourself into the unknown? You know, are you going to listen to your core when it says, pull back? That's not a good path to take. And what do you stand for? Because after all, in your business, you are your business.
Absolutely.
So you must represent your business at all times, everywhere, which doesn't mean pitch, but the integrity of who you are must always be represented.
Exactly. And I think that's so important. And that's one of the things that I talk about, as we were just saying, you know, it's so important just in terms of how you represent yourself.
Yes.
And being true to yourself.
Yes.
You know, being true to yourself and taking on what you can manage. And I talk about that as well. You know, a case of you can, you know, your earning potentials in being a consultant are limitless in terms of it's up to you.
Yes.
But it's also up to you how much stress you want in your life.
Right.
Because, you know, it's like, you know, it's
the money bag, the stress bag, you know, I'm now having a heart attack because of all the stress, and the money now is going to the doctors, you know, or I could work a little less, have a little less money and have more joy in life, you know?
Yes, absolutely. It's about that balancing act. It's a case of, you know, what do you want to do? So for me, I always have like a set number of clients that I won't go above, because I want to make sure I can, you know, manage my work and my home life, importantly.
Right.
So that's something that I do. And I talk to other, you know, or budding consultants and say, well, it's up to you, obviously, but it's about that work-life balance. Remember why you are leaving the job, because you wanted the work-life balance. So don't go and drown yourself. So I know of consultants that have done that and then gone back to 9 to 5 working, because they felt so stressed in terms of, you know, what they're taking on. But
it's the pacing yourself, isn't it?
It's the pacing yourself, but it's also the knowing when to say no.
Yes.
And I think that's very hard, and something that I know that a lot of people struggle with, because you have that, you know, wanting people pleasing syndrome.
Yes.
You know, and that's a lot of it in business and in consultancy. You know, you want to have happy customers, and you want your clients to be happy. And then if you know someone that you've worked with before, they come to you, sometimes you'll be like, okay, I'll take you on. And then someone else comes, you know, and before you know it, you can have a really full, you know, overflowing
overload.
Yes.
Yeah. And now you're panicking because you just don't know. And the thing is that once you have got a few under your belt, you know your own rhythm. You know, this amount of clients is fine. I can balance that. You don't always know that at first. Also, when you're first starting a business, it is a requirement to put in a lot of hours because you're building.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then you get to a point where, okay, you know, now I can balance things out.
Yeah.
Because yes, you are working independently so that you can have the family life as well.
Of course.
But you know, the family also have to know when you're setting things up. The other thing is, very, very importantly, we have a dog going berserk. Very, very importantly is the art of networking. And that's really important, isn't it?
That's key. That's so important. I mean, and I talk about that again as well in terms of, you know, ways to get new work and new clientele. That's a very key way of doing that. Networking, going out to industry events, ones that are relevant to your industry that you work in, you know. And if you're in employment, I always talk about not burning bridges, because you just don't know where, you know, they might call you in for someone to do some consultancy work.
Exactly.
So, you know, always think about that as well. And also, if you do things like over here, we have, I talk about in my book about, you know, if you go part-time or if you choose to do temping. So, you know, for example, temporary working as a consultant, as a freelance, with different clienteles. And when you do that, and you can do that via agencies in some cases over here. So I speak about that too, and making sure that you use those connections and you know, add them on LinkedIn and, you know, networking platforms, and keep up with them. And if you do go out and network, make sure you follow up with an email. You know, don't be a pesterer, but you can send an email. Nice to meet you. Let's make sure we stay in touch. And, you know, it's really, business is all about relationships.
Thank you. Let us go down that road, because, you know, this whole thing about, you know, I recently was going to do some business with some, because I really liked the platform.
Yeah.
And I was going to sign up with them. And we had discussed A, B, and C of how my work and their work could marry together. And they seemed to be very keen on it. And when it came to signing the contract, no, we want 30-second this, we want this, we want that. And it's like, hang on, you're just wanting me to sign up, which costs to sign up for something I cannot serve well, and most certainly can't serve me. And when we're looking at that, a lack of integrity, but also what we're looking at is that this whole thing about numbers, let's just sign them up, quick fixes. You know, we know that that is short term in everything. They don't last because they haven't got any foundation.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The important thing is build a relationship with people. And you can do that by choosing 2 or 3 social media platforms. One I have here, which I don't know if you have in the UK, is Alignable.
And no, I haven't heard of that one.
It's kind of a more interactive one of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really big. And I'm on LinkedIn. I do get to meet people from there. But Alignable will also hit you more in your community. And since I've moved to this community, the amount of people that I have met, and physically met too, which is nice, because you're actually ending up, you know, not just meeting people from around the world, but local people, and have an interaction. And it invites you to have an interaction. It invites you to share, but it's smaller. So you're not getting lost, right? Which is nice. But then you've got to choose. If you're professional, yes, you do want to be on LinkedIn. It is the professional side. And then you've got to choose, is it Instagram or Twitter? And those are announcement type things. But I still say, you know, for me, it's number one is still Facebook. And I know people say, oh, but this and that. You don't interact with those people, and the algorithm will not bring those to you. Right? The algorithm is going to bring you the people you interact with. And the big keyword there is interact. It isn't just about being lazy and it's about making a comment, inviting a conversation, meeting people, setting up a group under your consultancy thing where you can share tidbits, you can share this, you have other testimonies on there. But if you're not willing to take those steps in the networking and interacting in the social media, then you're not going to get very far, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. It all comes together. Excuse me. It all comes together in that sense. So, you know, like I said, relationships are very important. They are the foundation, you know, of business. And I think people omit that, especially in this culture, because like you said, everything's so fast paced and social media. And, you know, I remember I saw a post actually just yesterday, which was something like, you know, welcome to 2018, where you can, you know, you can be friends with someone on Instagram and they walk past you on the road. And it's like, well, yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, it's not really real relationships.
I've got 5,000 friends. Really?
Exactly.
That's very expensive birthday gifts.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing is, don't get fooled by the numbers, right? Because again, the algorithm doesn't mean all 5,000 people are getting your information or following it. It still comes to you stepping up and interacting.
It does. It absolutely does. Because even you say that, and I've got a page that I've recently created, which is the Free Yourself from the 9 to 5, which we'll give out at the end, on Facebook. So I've got around 10,000 people who like the page.
Right.
Doesn't mean that all 10,000 engage though. They don't necessarily all engage, and that takes time, and it does take effort. And sometimes I am putting out, well, how's everyone doing today? You might not get the interaction, but that's what happens at first. It takes time to build. Whereas
brick by brick,
it's built. Exactly. And it's funny, I even had this funny emoji which I'll send to you, and it's like the life of an entrepreneur, and it's like, and one day you're kind of down and thinking, what am I doing? The next is like, oh, hey, this is great, it's all going well. The next day something's gone wrong. It's that kind of peak and flows.
Yes.
And so that's also part of the business journey. You're going to have your ups and your downs, but I think
you're wearing all the hats, aren't you?
You are.
In business, you can turn to if you're in a corporation, you can turn to someone else in another department. In your own stuff, you're wearing all your hats. But this now goes into who else has expertise that you can use in your business. Collaboration, right?
I talk about that too. I think that's important as well. And I mean, one thing I'm working on at the moment, which is in the UK, we have what you call a Chartered Institute of Public Relations, which is the professional body for PR and communicators over here. And I'm one of their members, but I'm also a co-founder of the Independence Network, which we're launching at the end of the month, actually. And what's interesting about that is that we're talking about collaboration, because again, a lot of independents are out here and they're working in their own little fields, and then it comes to a point where sometimes there's great opportunities to collaborate, or you've got somebody who's got some skills that you're missing that you can plug and fill the gap. And we're trying to encourage that and show that it's don't be scared, because I think people get scared of competition. They think, oh well, if I pass that, then what if the client just wants to steal them and not deal with me? But I think that comes down to mutual respect as consultants as well, and having integrity, as you talk about, and being ethical, and knowing that if you're working together, let's do this together, and not try and pinch somebody else's client, which does happen, unfortunately. But that's because there's always a few bad apples.
Yes. And don't beat yourself up if you get fooled by them, because they're very charming. Just learn and move on, right?
You just got to learn and move on, and don't take it personal. And I tell myself that too. Just don't take it personal, because sometimes, like we said, we are our worst critics.
Yes. Oh, why didn't I see that?
Exactly.
What person am I? And it's like, there's just some people that are professional con people.
Absolutely.
And also, a brilliant show on narcissism. I invite you to listen to that, because it helps you identify other people in business too, and whether you can deal with them or not.
Okay.
But, they are the most charming and alluring people, while there's an awful lot else going on. So, it's again, I think, really, in your own business, there is a little bit of psychology you have to bring into things, isn't it? And that's then going back to trusting your gut. Really, do your head's saying one thing, but your gut and your heart is saying another, and somebody may be saying something to you, but what are they really saying? So
absolutely,
that's another hat.
That's another hat. There's other things to get to grips with, but it's all a learning curve, and I feel like it helps you to grow as an individual. And has a businesswoman, it helps, because it's just like, okay, I won't make that mistake again. Okay,
right. All right, and you might, because it might wear a different face. And that's the thing. And it's like, then you go, okay, what am I doing that's attracting those people? Maybe I need to shift my energy, shift my presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm attracting the wrong people.
Making tweaks.
Tweak it up, because don't beat yourself up, tweak it up.
Absolutely. Yes, I like that one. Indeed. But that's so important, and I think that's one thing that we have to get to grips with as consultants, that don't take it all personal, and just know that it's about taking your plan of action and seeing through those steps, and knowing that actually at the end it's your business, it's your achievement. And that's such a great and empowering feeling, to know that you created this, and you have your own clients, and you have this going on, and you will have your peaks and your troughs, and there are times when it gets quiet, and then you might need to think about what you want to do then. But it's about actually having some plan of action. So whether you have your clients crossing over, or sometimes, as I said in the book, you might want to take periods of time off, because you can do that, working flexibly, but then having plans about how you're going to get back into work, or what kind of work you might want to maneuver yourself into.
Well, that is the thing about being self-employed, is like, oh, I can't take time off, but if you don't, you burn out. I mean, I recently took 2 weeks off, where normally if I'm going to do that, I would do shows ahead, so there are shows playing while I'm away. I didn't do that this time. I have 2,000 shows collectively on here. There's enough for you to be
There's
listening
enough.
to.
Absolutely.
And so, for me, it's like, I'm just taking some time off. I'm taking some time off. And in the past, it would be, oh, I can't do that, and now it's like, chill. I need the time to regroup.
You need the time.
Family time.
Yeah.
And also to take a breath, because I knew that I'm going into, you know what it's like with seasonal. You're going into, I've got A, B, C, D, and it's going all the way up to F and G. And it's like, okay, so if you're burnt out or if you're overworked now, take the time off, come back, systematically start putting everything in sync. But I think one of the things I think I've learned most certainly is things I used to get upset about or work up about. Take the deep breath. Take the deep breath, because if you get all upset and tight about it, no resolution or solution is going to come to you.
Exactly.
Take the deep breath, step back, regroup yourself, and then come back and look at it and address it from a different point of view.
Yeah, that's the best advice, really. That's really key too, and I definitely concur with that. But I do feel like it's important to build in your holiday time. That's so important. It's your you time. Also building in your own you time in terms of things like personal development. If you're a consultant, I talk about the fact that it's really important that you keep your skills up to date. Okay. There's, you can't just rest on your laurels. You're no longer in the employed position where you can kind of coast along. It's a case of get your work done, make sure your skills are up to scratch so that your clients are happy, and that's what it's about, providing a service for your clients. And I'm sure it also helps you stand out from the crowd too. So I think it's really important that you keep your skills up to date, but you also plan out time for yourself, for personal development time, or just me time, whether it be working out or just time to kind of try and chill out and just take some time to relax, because I feel like we get so worked up when we're running our own businesses. Working out is very key. I try and do that. I try and work out at least 5 days a week. I do it. I'm not one of those ones who love going to the gym all the time. Not really, no. I like to dance or do things like that. I prefer to do that.
Walk in nature. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I say do what's good for you, but try and I say do try and get out, and I try and practice what I preach, because you know what it's like when you work for yourself, you work from home. Like I do. Sometimes I can find that I haven't come out the house for a few consecutive days in a row. And it's like,
I know.
Oh my gosh, you know. So it's also trying to build that in. And I talk to other consultant friends who are like, actually, I realize I've been in my pajamas for the last 2 days, and it's like it happens, especially when you get passionate, you're working on a project, you like to get it done, and you can get yourself really swallowed up into it. But I always say, take some time out, take a breather, and like you said, if things go wrong, the best thing to do is actually to walk away from it and just take a chill moment. And I had that recently, actually. I had an issue sorry to cut you, where I had an IT issue. It's like with technical issues, we're not all tech, whizzes. So, I can do lots of things, but I was working on my actual website, and it was a thing where I think I was trying to change the theme on WordPress, and it just sent everything. It sent everything crazy. And then I literally had to, take a moment. Luckily, they helped me with their chat. But it was one of those moments where it's like, this can send someone really over the edge, because it was one of those times where you're really pushing something. I think I had an announcement that I was pushing out. So it was like, I didn't need this right now.
No, it happened to me too. I was actually looking at a theme for another site I was doing. And when I pressed on to activate it, it reactivated my main radio site, and it was panic, and immediately got onto chat, and WordPress is very good for this.
They are really good.
And they put it back to the other theme, and then all my links that I have color coded are being blown. They put that back for me, and and then just walk me through it, and that's another thing that's very, very important when you are in business, is your tools. Now, like things like WordPress, yes, to set it up might be a little bit, but then they are so good at walking you through it and helping you out. And the more you actually learn to do it yourself, there's so many times that I interview someone and I've looked at their site, and then I've interviewed them and I said, there is no cohesiveness there at all. Somebody else has done their site. There's none of their personality there. And so if I'm going to that site, I'm not going to know you're that person. And so, yes, you can hire someone to do it, but not just a generic one like they're churning out. What is it about you that they're saying? And I always go to the about. I want to know who you are, you know, what you're about before I'm going to be interviewing you. And if you don't have that there, you know, then it shows that you're not willing to step up and be, you know, that. And if you're not willing to be up there and be open and honest, then how can you expect open and honesty from, you know, me? So that's very important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really important. And I would say that in terms of, because obviously I'm a PR consultant, and in terms of, you know, going forward, and what I advise small businesses or business owners in general is to definitely look at your website. Website is so important.
Huge.
And I think people don't take it as seriously as they should do sometimes. And it's one of the things I even give out on my DIY PR page, which is because I've created a DIY PR course, which is for business owners. So because I've been consulting so long, I know what it's like for startups and how expensive it can be.
And
I've had somebody come to me and, you know, ask about, you know, getting some services, but they can't afford it because they're at the start of their career, start of their business. So I created this course, which is a DIY PR course, which is how to get media coverage for your business. And it's just recently uploaded. I've put it on Udemy. I've got a discount code, which I can share with your listeners. So it's on there, and it's also on Skillshare and a couple other platforms as well. But on there, I always talk about your website. I talk about, you know, in terms of your image, what is the message that you're giving out about yourself? You know, and does it make sense? You know, does it actually register? Does it, you know, hit with your audience? Does it make sense to your audience? And are you thinking about your audience? And then that's one of the key things, because once you start doing your own website, sometimes I feel like businesses forget the focus.
Right.
So whilst some information is important to you and for maybe your shareholders, that doesn't necessarily resonate with your clients or your customers that come to your business. So it's
are you
about
sending out the right invitation?
Are you sending out the right information about yourself? And that's important. And like you said, in the about section, what does that say about you guys? You know,
and you want something personal.
You do.
Yeah, because you're asking somebody to be personal with you, and you want to have something personal there. You know, I think one of the things that people are so guarded on is that vulnerability. But it's also in your vulnerability, it builds trust.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if you're willing to be vulnerable, I don't mean completely exposed, but, you know, vulnerable enough, then you're inviting that other person to be vulnerable with you. And that's how you're building a relationship, right?
Yeah.
You know? Otherwise, if you're guarded or standoffish, well, that person's going to feel, A, there's no connection, and B, I can't trust you enough with my information.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And usually, like you said, the person who's usually feeling vulnerable may give off the guarded impression, but it's because they're actually feeling vulnerable. And sometimes it's a case of, you know, embracing your vulnerability and owning it, actually. Because, you know, I have those times when I feel vulnerable, or when you do speaking engagements, for example, you're standing up speaking to the crowd, and of course you feel vulnerable.
Yes.
But, you know, you have to push through that and continue. So I feel like, you know, that's so key. And I think people miss that and think you have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. No one's perfect.
No. And this is, you know, another people, do you edit this? And I say, no, I edit something big, you know, or if there's a drop of this, that, but you know what? I own it. Oh, we had a drop. Oh, we had this. We had that. We're back now. And the thing is by owning the mistakes, you're not putting an emphasis on the mistake.
No.
Right.
You're just shows you're human.
Exactly. Stuff happens, especially with what you just described with the internet. I've just gone through 3 days of the internet boxes not talking to each other and not having any internet, and and having to postpone shows, which in the past would have crucified me. And now it's that anybody who works with tech understand tech happens. And it doesn't always happen your way.
It doesn't.
Right? And
doesn't.
if you've got somebody that's uptight on the other end, well, then they're not being very flexible or considerate, because you're doing your very best. And if you've got something that's getting in your way, that's beyond you, right? Then be flexible. Don't start coming up. But you tell me, if you're not flexible, then you're not able to work with somebody in a way where you can really look at how you can do it, because you're too rigid. Right?
Yeah,
so that flexibility on both sides is very important.
Very important. And also being able to identify that, because I feel like and identify where your issues are coming from. So I say that in a sense of, sometimes you may have a technical issue, you call your tech guy, like you said, he's got a bad attitude, but it's not because of you, it's because of what happened to him yesterday or this morning, and he's got that on him. So that's where, you know, the whole dump in the rubbish syndrome, where, you know, you're taking it and you're sharing it with everyone else. So sometimes you've got to take a step back and think, actually, it's definitely not me. It's that person who had the issue, who has a problem.
Right.
And so, that can also calm you down as well. Because, I know,
just
energy reacts.
Push it away, push it away.
Have to. Because, everything creates reactions. So sometimes a bad reaction creates another bad reaction, and then you've got a chain reaction. So, it's a case of taking the time and recognizing that, okay, maybe he's having a bad day. My technical issues are causing me issues, but we can get past it. And what I always say to myself is, everything passes. Your day is going to come and go. So whether you've got an interview tomorrow that you're really nervous about, it's going to happen. Okay. So embrace it and just think about, how can I get through it in the best way? Like, I'm one of those aware people who enjoys interviews. So I always give advice on that. And I always say, well, I enjoy it because for me, I used to look at it as, well, you're interviewing me, but I'm also interviewing you. Because I actually want to?
Well, this is what on the banner says: life conversations. That's the thing. Do you send me a whole load of questions? No. It is about us conversing and bringing out in each other the conversation. As some people say, we have a glass of wine and listen to the show, or a cup of coffee, or we listen with friends and we talk about it. That's the thing. You're eavesdropping.
Exactly. So absolutely. So I just think it's just about how you look at life and how you kind of adapt to life. And sometimes, like we said, it's going to throw you, different things at you. But you've got to be able to kind of bend and be flexible, and don't take it personal.
I also want to go back to identification. I have a logo that's been with me right from the beginning of time, but it's a round one. And what I have done over every couple of years is I've changed my big banner representation to update it. Or maybe there's things I needed to add to it or make it bolder, but I've always kept the consistency of the logo because that's the identification. And I think it is actually important that we do refresh our appearance as we go, because also the other thing about your site or even your social media, if you see no updating, then it looks like you're not active in your business
enough. Yes, absolutely. That's very true. And even I was looking at my website, I thought, I've got to do a new blog because I took the summer off because I figured I was going to have summer off. Remember we discussed that? I said, I took the summer off. It was my birthday, my daughter's birthday. So I had August off basically. So my last post is like July. So I'm working on something for, this week. But again, like you say, it's about making sure it looks like it's still up and running. Otherwise, no one will come to it. If you've got a post and the last news story was in 2015, people are going to think that your website is
not
inactive
current anymore. Exactly.
No, absolutely.
And even just going in, doing things like a blog, even short and sweet, or inquiring or whatever, making sure also on your social media that you are reacting or interacting with the people posting comments, because there's no point in asking something or posting something and never getting back to
them,
right? Because basically it's like you're not responding to a phone call when somebody left you a message.
Absolutely. It's basic customer service when it comes to things like that. That's how you've got to look at it. You have to go back to them and respond. The same thing with Twitter or whatever social media platform you run. I always advise businesses to go on the ones that make sense for them. So if you've got a very visual business, then LinkedIn and Pinterest are not LinkedIn, sorry, Instagram and Pinterest are the ones for you. Obviously you can be on other ones, but you want to make sure it's all cohesive. And so whatever you put on, absolutely. So your website, in terms of your copy on your news pages, are you pushing them out on all the channels that needs to be pushed out on? Do you have someone who's monitoring your social media? Sometimes you cannot afford to do that, so maybe you want to do things like set up scheduled posts and then choose a day of the week or 2 days a week when you go in and you respond. But what you might want to do if you're on Facebook is put in brackets, this page is monitored on this and this and that page, so people understand that you're still there, but maybe you're a single person, so you're splitting your time, as best you can. But that's why I always think about, I always like to advise clients to be transparent in whatever you're doing. Be honest.
I'm very honest. Like, I had this issue with it, and I, put up on Facebook having this problem. Anybody got any answers? Any suggestions? And I put it out to my network. They follow me on all the work and everything that I do, and basically, I'm asking them to help me as they've asked me to help them. And that's what
Yeah.
community is about.
Yeah.
It isn't about, well, I've got this image and I've got to get that, so therefore I've got to always be perfect and I can't ask for anything. No.
Yeah.
I've admitted to times of need where I need a boost and need help. And they
Yeah.
are there in floods, which is
Oh,
wonderful.
that's brilliant. That's what
And
you
so,
want.
that appreciation, and I am back there for them. And that family of community are people that aren't just following my work. They're following me because my work and myself are the same people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so they know they're going
absolutely.
to get that integrity and the honor. So don't go
Yeah.
post something that is of one image and you don't live up to it on the other side.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot of that happening. But in this day and age, you have a lot of that, fake it until you make it.
Yes.
There's a lot of that going on.
Right.
And a lot of it doesn't always, sync up.
Right.
I heard a story recently, someone that I know was talking about, they do music. And so they had somebody who was following them. And, but they gave the impression that they were sort of, big and out there. And it turns out that they were seen, but they were working in somewhere completely different. Mm. Nothing wrong with where you're working. No. It was a retail shop, or, like a high street shop. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just that online you're giving a completely different impression.
Right.
So it's a case of then people start to judge and start to think, what's going on? But you can save that. Own where you are. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes. This is a side business or a side passion of mine. Own it, be up there, up front with that, because that's fine. But it's when you don't, them go, well, hang on. Because, there is a lot of fake news on social media. And it is buyer beware. And this is where the relationship is so important. In your consultancy, I'm sure you say to people, offer 30-minute free intros.
Yeah, we do intros all the time. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you've got to know, do I feel this person? Do I feel connected? And it's just the same as you taking on a client. Do you feel that there's a synergy here? Yes. And if there isn't, fine. But therefore also, if it isn't a match for you, maybe it's a match for someone else.
Exactly.
And you can recommend and vice versa. And there you're building in that community of support again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how it works, really. It is a case of, pass it on. If it's not good for you, it doesn't fit, pass it on. And I think that's important. And that's something that I suppose why I was so keen to sort of get on with this network, this voluntary network for the independent, so that they have that kind of collaboration. And you don't feel so isolated as well, because being independent, you do have moments of isolation. So for me, I enjoy working on my own. I'm quite happy to be autonomous, but I know that also I do enjoy people. So I always used to get the question when I left my job, which was, don't you miss, the job? I'm like, no, I don't miss the job. I miss the people.
Yes.
That's the difference. I miss my little, coffee moments or going to get tea moments or whatever. But, again, that can still be redressed by making sure you build that in. So whether you look at, and for me, I work from home, I like that. But for others, they don't like working by themselves. So then you look at work share options.
Yes.
You look at what works for you, So there's always different solutions out there, but it's about sourcing them out and trying to find it.
Now let's go to the presentation of self. Right. Now, I remember once doing a presentation, I was wearing a suit and somebody came up to me and said, you're not a suit person. Because, I'm more, wear color, dress flowy, this, that, be me.
Yeah,
right.
Yourself.
And never wore a suit again. So, it's always be presentable.
Yeah.
You're right. The hair, the makeup, the clothing. If you're a man, you can wear the shirt and pants. Make sure, please, they're clean.
Yes.
And everything looks presentable. And the thing is, be presentable. The casual wear today is perfectly acceptable as long as you are presentable. And the important thing is you are comfortable in your own skin. There is that kind of 20-second impression. Remember, it's 55% of the way you present yourself. That snapshot of a picture of how you look. Right? If you're wearing an Armani suit and you're not an Armani person, they see the suit, they don't see you. So present yourself in a way they're going to see you. And then what is it? 37% is the tone of your voice as to whether you're invitational or confrontational. Then it's only 7% is actually content at that point. Because if they haven't bought the presence of you, if they haven't bought the tone of you, they're certainly not going to listen to any content of you.
Yeah, I can completely get that. Yeah, but I think it's very important. And for me, I feel like being creative or in PR and stuff like that, and on my whole entrepreneurial journey of what I'm doing, being myself is so important.
Yes.
It's so interesting because obviously, like I said, I do a few different voluntary things. So the independent network, but I also sit on a committee for women in PR. And it's interesting because sometimes we've got different events we're going to, and there's times when I'm getting ready to go to events. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I just put on a suit. I'm like, no, I have to literally set myself out of the corporate,
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
no, I'm still me.
Yes.
I'm still on my journey. As long as I look presentable, that's all that matters. And I think that's also getting through mindset. So people who work in corporate, who used to work corporate like me, it's okay. You will get used to it. But I actually like being able to just wear my own colours and
right, exactly. Myself. Yeah, you're representing you, not the company. You're representing you. You are your own company. The other important thing is also making sure things like your cards, some people just want to do the thing on the phone, share the card on the phone. Some people want to actually have a physical card. Always make sure that you have that. Always make sure you do have your elevator pitch, because you never know who you're going to meet. But when you're going to these networking events, make sure that it isn't about sales pitch, that it is about connecting. What do you do? How can we help each other? That interactiveness, not about, handing you a card while I'm looking at someone else to go to, it's because we have got time.
That happens quite a lot. Because you meet people and you think, okay, you've got to take time to make sure you have a few words to say and they have a few words to say, have a conversation. There's times that I have been to networking and it feels like I'm listening to somebody talk about themselves, and whilst it's interesting, you want to make sure you move on to the next stage. I think that's also nerves, because sometimes we don't, we get nervous, and so we think, okay, let's just go to whatever we feel comfortable to talk about. So networking tips, I would say definitely bring a card along. If you they definitely have business cards, definitely bring them along. If you're on LinkedIn and you've forgotten the cards, or you've given all your cards, use your LinkedIn profiles or your one, which is a line. Be ready and willing to, be open, honest, be open. Sometimes you're in a tight bind and you might be not having the best day. You can say, oh yeah, it's been a difficult day because this has happened, but really excited to be here to meet new people, and then people kind of guards drop down. They think, oh, okay, right. And you make yourself more relatable.
Right. I'm sorry, my hair may be grayer right now. I've just had all these problems, and you're opening up. Oh, I had that too. And, commonality is there. But, the other thing I think is important, I did a little banner on this the other day, a little posting I put out. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's strong cup of coffee. Right. And that, I am a coffee person, not a tea person. And the things like, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Don't take it personally, right? And you are going to be somebody's strong cup of coffee where they like that bold touch. It's not a popularity contest. You can agree to disagree. You're not going to agree or have a synergy with everyone. And it's just, don't take those type of things personally. You'll meet the people you're meant to meet if you're willing to come in with a good vibration and meet somebody on that same frequency.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is to say, again, just don't take it personal, because when you're in it, sometimes you feel like it's personal. If you're going through it now, for example, and you're just starting out, or you're looking to start out and something throws you off, sometimes you feel like, is it me? Am I supposed to do this? But no, it usually isn't. Just know that your vibe attracts your tribe. And so you will be fine. You just got to keep going along. I mean, I've had clients or potential clients not come to me because they said to me, we had our initial chat intro, and they came and told me that I would be too fun to work with. Okay. That was one of the reasons. And I'm like, well, this is hilarious, because actually for me, working should be fun, and that's how I want to work. So if you don't want to have fun, then maybe we shouldn't work it. What's interesting is that they went with someone else and then came back to me anyway. And
the thing is, who says that you can't be serious while having fun?
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. I mean, this is, what you've got to suffer and be stressed out. No. When you're having fun, you're more productive. You get more done.
Exactly. You're happy, you're bouncing. Absolutely. So again, I think that's the thing. Make sure you're having fun, and make sure that, your vibe is attracting your tribe. Don't worry about it. Those who don't fit are not supposed to fit. It's not supposed to be.
And the other thing is, of course, never talk about other clients to anyone.
No.
You may have had a nightmare of a client, and you can have somebody confidentially that you can talk to about it. Don't bring it to anyone. Oh, I just had this nightmare client. You can't do that.
professionalism is very key. Okay, be ethical. It's your business. It's your reputation online. So always be ethical. So yes, whilst you may want to offload, and it's absolutely fine to do that, but to make sure it's with someone who you trust in a confidential way. And even so, just leave names out of it. Okay, you can always talk about things, leave names out of it. That's the main thing, you know. And don't be afraid of dealing with difficult clients. Okay, and don't be bullied by difficult clients either. Okay,
and don't be afraid to just dismiss the contract. Because if it's, you know, there just are some people that are so utterly needy, and it doesn't, you know, you're there to help them be independent. But if they are wanting you to be there to do everything for you and not step into the independence, then clearly that you're not a fit. And so you've got to know, again, your boundaries. Where are your walls? You know, and it's not putting your walls up. It's that these are my parameters and I work within these parameters. And anything that requires me to go beyond that is something I'm uncomfortable with. So therefore, we will work in these parameters. If it's pushing me out of that, then we have to call it a day.
Exactly. And actually being able to sit comfortably with that. And I think that's also a learning curve in itself, you know, saying that. So for you, I'm sure you're seasoned, you're a bit more, you're more comfortable in doing that.
I still take, well, it's not taking it personally, is that I still feel it because I'm an empath, unfortunately. So I still kind of feel people's things. And of course, as a spiritual counselor, of course, I would love to fix them. But, you know, I know that I'm the last person they would want to hear it from.
Okay.
So, you know, if I know there's somebody close and say, Lord, please, this is, please, can you help? Because I'm not the person to help. But it's, there's just sometimes there are some people unwilling to learn or unwilling to be helped. And you're going to have somebody that you reach out to consult that want to be independent, but then they want to be so tight-reined on everything without the flexibility. And it's just going to be, you know, they're not going to make it, because if you haven't got adaptability, the flexibility in this business, you're not going to make it. Rigid will snap you in half.
Absolutely. And the whole point is that you're trying to get away from rigid.
Right. So, you know, that's why you left the corporate world. Yeah.
Exactly. And even that, I will say to those who are thinking about, you know, transitioning out of it, it's definitely, like I said before, it's a mindset shift. And, you know, it will take its toll, because I remember when I first did my transition, it was really weird at first, because I'm so used to being on the robotic, up, ready, breakfast, straight to work, back again, you know. So it was like, oh, okay, this is my time to do what I need to do, you know. So, you know,
and then taking responsibility for your time and what you're doing with it, right? Because it's not, you're not under somebody else's clock, you're on yours.
Your own clock.
Responsibility you're going to take for it.
Exactly. And also about how you manage it, because I got into some bits where I was like, okay, I'll put in the washing and I'm doing this, and you find I'm doing these things around the house, and I'm like, okay, right, and I end up working later. But for me, I actually don't mind working late, but it's about going into a system that works for you. I've got some friends who just prefer working at night. They spend their daytime going out and do what they like, or others that actually just work over the weekend. And, you know, it's up to you, but it's about finding that rhythm and that pattern that works for you.
And
but
your
also
family.
Taking responsibility, and your family.
And the thing is when you are going to do this, it is a transition, not just for you, but for them as well.
Yes, it
and
is.
You know, they're going to feel the insecurity. They're also going to feel sometimes your anxiety of doing things. And it's got to be, look, family, help me through this. But at any time you feel I'm getting too stressed, remind me to come back to fun, right? So make it a family affair, because that's the way the whole family is going to get through it.
Absolutely. You're very right on that one. And it's not easy, because it can be difficult, you know, depending on what your family situation is like. And, you know, it sets up in terms of working and things like that with your partner. And, you know, sometimes you find yourself like ships in the night, depending on, you know, what the situation is. But you can always fight your way through and know that you can work together to get to where you want to be. You know, set your goals and, you know, take your actions towards it. And that's the important thing. We do a lot of talking in this society, I think. You know, there's a lot of us talking about, you know, oh, we want to do this, or we want to do that. But it's the action that's really important. And once you get the action going, I think everything else kind of falls into place.
And of course, behind you, you have your vision board. And this is, again, we're talking about, you know, your dreams. A dream is essential in humanity, but it's also to remember to blueprint the dreams, and then to set in motion the plan of implementing the dream. And things like vision boards and things like, you know, blueprints, things like building those structures, ready to know which part to build first. There's no point in building a roof before you've built a foundation.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Exactly.
this helps you sort it out and put it in a right perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do. I'm definitely a big fan of vision boards, as you can see my one behind me here. But I'm definitely a fan. I think it does help to focus the mind.
Yes.
If I
and what comes next?
Yes, it gets you thinking that. It's like, okay, this is all here, this is great. So how do you manifest this?
Yes.
How are we going to do it? So then you take your steps towards that. It's interesting because I remember years ago saying, I always want to write a book and, always plan to write a book. So now that I've done it, it's like, yes, it's a great achievement. I'm really happy with myself about it.
Yes.
It was one of my things on my board, but I'm like, yes, I've still got a few more things to go, but you can make it happen.
Right.
But again, it's about taking the action. With the book writing, I was pondering like many on it for a very long time. And I actually love writing. But when it comes to writing your own things and it's about a professional, book, this book, I used to do a lot of fictional, writing,
right.
Non-fiction writing and things like that. But for this, it's about focusing yourself. I literally had to do this. A mentor told me, look, you're going to start, take 10 pages, okay, write down 10 headings and start like that, okay? And I just literally started. I took my, one chapter at a time, started working myself through it, and it's possible. So I'm saying that to everyone who's listening now, and whether you have something inside of you, like you want to share your own story, write a book, there's so much out here that you can, do it now. As before, many years ago, I felt, you've got to get it published, you've got to do this, you've got so many hurdles to get through.
Yes.
You can self-publish. I self-published my book. Yes,
and, I would tell you a tip, whether you're published or self-published, you still got to do all the publicity.
You still have to.
Yeah, you still got, and you've got to be willing to do the podcast circuit and get out there, because it's not just, there's my book, I'm a J.K. Rowling now. No,
that's not how it works.
Whether somebody else is publishing you've still got to get out there and do all the work.
Absolutely. My was published in April this year, and I'm still pushing.
Of course, you will be for some time. Yeah, and that's the thing.
I'm still pushing. I plan to do more podcasts like this, which I'm grateful to have, be on yours. But it's very important. It's a case of going out there, and you do have to put yourself out there.
Yes.
And what's interesting for me was, obviously I've done PR for others, but I had to, switch.
I know. When
it's like,
yourself, it's so different,
it's
isn't
so
it?
different. It's
I'm
so
celebrating
different.
people from all over the world when it comes on to me. Me?
Exactly.
Yeah. And talking about a book, I should have written a book 2 or 3 years ago. This summer I was going to write the book. But it was just, I was in the wrong space, literally, and also so busy because I've just set up a nonprofit organization as well.
Okay.
And it was just like, where do I have time for this book? I know how I want it to be, and there's a certain amount of material that's already there. They're not properly ordered. It's just having that time at some point, because I'm all in when I do something, and just have the time just to go all in and do it. So it's like, I've got the site, I've got the building pieces, is now I've got to wreck the building. So I know, okay, sorry, do it now. But it's, I've got so much on my plate right now. And that's the thing, is that there's something you really want to do. Don't push yourself to do it because, well, where's your book? It's here somewhere on the desktop.
Yeah, everyone's got a book in them.
but in the meantime, there's A, B, C, D, F, and D going down. That's ahead of it. So and it's and don't sweat it. Right, let it happen.
No, let it happen. But also in the sense of, depending on the type of person that you are, because you can let it happen, and some people who can let it happen so much that it won't happen. So you need to make sure that you do come back on yourself about taking responsibility again, isn't it? It's like, okay, I don't have time to do it now, but how about I plan out or try and carve out some time around the future when things die down a bit, you know, and think, okay, let's do it. And again,
they don't die down with me. I keep
sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. But you know what I find helpful?
Organization I've just opened up.
Well, you've just started a whole new business, so I
have. I've just started, the sister business, self-discovery community with this, and because it's all part and parcel of this, and it's all part of, my vision, which is, the one thing that I've learned here is the amount of people that have gone through hell in their lives, literally being bottomed out, the cosmic 2x4, the things they've had to face, but the strength and the courage and the tenacity, not only to get back up, but to work through it, and because of it, become their meaningful purpose that now serves us as a humanity. But I also know of how many people who have had that carpet pulled from them, and they want to get back up, but one of the things that's been taken from them is the purse strings.
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
can't afford the help that they need that's all around them
Yeah.
to help get back on their feet. And that's what the organization is about. It's about raising money through books that my guests write, and we raise that money to pay for the services for the people in the directory that are people like you, and we pay for those services to help people get back up on their feet.
That's amazing.
Because I
Amazing.
believe we should invest in people. And I'm going to say to
Absolutely.
people, whatever business you do, have a 10% policy somewhere along that line, where it is about you either giving your services for free for someone needs it, or something you support.
Yeah.
Because when you willingly give something away, the amount of what you get back, whether it's in business or money, but what you get back is so really important.
Yeah, it is.
And
It is
yeah,
important. It really is, and I completely agree with that. And it's important for you as well. You know, it's that
yes,
it's your vision. So you've built
yes,
that. I think it's a great vision, and it's like a great business idea. You know, so I think
yes. I'm looking for
sounds
business people,
amazing.
folks.
Yeah, of course you are. It sounds amazing. It sounds really, really good.
And that's the thing, is be willing to talk about what you want and what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, if you want to be that consultant, talk about it.
yeah,
Not to the point where there's nothing else that you can talk about. Obviously choose your moments, but talk about your dream, talk about your
yeah.
passion, talk about your
Absolutely.
conviction. You have no idea who along the way goes, I love that. You need to meet so-and-so.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
That's
Oh,
so
this
true.
person can benefit from you. And if you're not willing to just, this is something, this is my dream, this is my blueprint, this is what I'm building, this is what I want. And if you
Yeah.
don't let people know that, how are you
How
going
are
to
they going to
fight the
help?
builders, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I feel like I feel like I had the moment like that recently as well, where a case of sometimes the pride comes in and you think, oh
Yes.
no, it's fine. And it's like, well, actually, if you don't put your hand out and say you need a bit of help, then no one's going to
Right.
know. And then actually you won't
Right.
get the help that you need. So,
Yes.
it's like you're in a bit of a catch-22 because you're
Yes.
fighting yourself,
And
So
where does that false pride come in? It comes from a past
it
historical
does.
society thing, of
It does.
grin and bear and do it on your own, and it's like,
Exactly.
no, we're about community now. The village is only as strong as its participants.
Yes.
Everybody has a role to play.
Yeah,
Every role is
absolutely.
important, including the village idiot.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
is important, and we
yeah.
need to be there to support one another so we can celebrate one another.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, like you said, this business sounds great for me. I'm on
Yeah.
this journey of pushing my book,
Right.
trying to get my course out to other people so they know that. And I've left it at really cheap. It's like $40, and it teaches you about PR and how you can do it for yourself, for your business at a pace. And I'm looking at coaching alongside that. But my passion at the moment, as you know, is around helping people escape the 9 to 5, and that's my
Yes.
little passion, and that's what I'm working on in terms of providing coaching of how to get out of 9 to 5,
Right.
guidance. Hence why I've got the book, and always open for questions if anyone has any.
It's
But
setting
that's
your
my
own
true.
hours and your own principles, your own philosophy,
Yeah,
your own passion. And like,
yeah,
the thing is, when people say, well, I don't know if I can do that, you have just given 8 hours of your day to someone else, and you've given them everything.
mm-hmm.
If you take that same 8 hours and put it into everything you want to do for you, who
Exactly.
says you can't succeed? All you're needing is the wisdom and the tools for which you've provided them.
That's it. And even if you are in a job at the moment and it feels like you're kind of trapped because you're paying, you've got bills to pay, you can still find your way out of it. You still
Yes.
have a few hours afterwards, even if you take, an hour, if you've got kids, you've got to put them to bed, or, I know it takes a lot out of you and it's really difficult. But, if you decide, okay, well, 2 days a week and then maybe on the weekend, one day on the weekend,
Right.
I'm going to work on my business, and you stick to that time,
Right.
that will help you. The same for you, I suppose, in terms of your book.
Yeah.
You're going to write a book. One tip I'd have is to block out time in your diary, just for writing. Because actually, that's what I had to do at certain points. And I look at my diary and it'd be like, okay, it's time to get on with writing.
Right.
Might not feel like I want to write.
Right.
But the discipline would be, okay, let's get in front of the computer. Once you start, it will start to flow.
Right.
And most time it happens.
Yes.
But I think it's about keeping, committed to our own commitments.
Right. Yes. If we want it enough, we're going to make the time for it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the hardest. I think for us as humans, I feel like we put other people's needs before our own.
Right.
So, for example, I found that, when I was in employment, or for example, when I'm working on client work, I'll be beavering away, and then I'll have something to do that's for myself, and I'll always put on the back burner. Let me do that one first, put that first. And I had to kind of reflect and think, why am I putting myself on the back burner? This is something that's going to help build up what I'm trying to grow here. So, it's about taking that time and fitting it into your schedule.
And we also got to remember this, the inspiration you are to your daughter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Showing that, yes, you can be all. It's just a question of balance. It's just a question of flexibility. It's just a question of passion, of conviction. And showing her that you can be that. You don't have to be the droid. It's also with your husband. You give better quality time to him because it's on your terms. It's not something, oh, God, I've got to come home, got to do this, put the kid to work now because the husband's going to want time. You know? So you can give him the time to each other because you now know you have the time to do it, and you're coming from a place where you don't feel all dragged out, that you can even share your day, and that's something that you can all celebrate together. So
you can celebrate together, and I think that's so important. And like you said, my daughter doesn't look at me, she's like, oh, I'm so proud of you, and my fiance is the same, I'm really proud of you. But I want her to know that you don't have to be, like you said, a droid coming out of school and doing what everyone says you should do. It's okay, and she has that in her. And so she came with me recently to a talk I did at London University, and so she was sitting there listening, and it's interesting because she's just turned 16, so obviously for her she's at that can't wait to get out in the world, massive stage of life. But you can see she's definitely thinking about business and how you can take that forward, and ways to work around it. And I say this as well, I know a lot of people say to me, oh, the idea of starting your own business, it's quite daunting, or when people think of businesses, sometimes they think of massive companies.
Right, exactly.
No, you don't have to be. Like for working as a consultant, essentially you have your own business, but you're a one-person business if you want to be, or you can expand and collaborate. So you have the control, but not as much as the whole governance, in the sense of all this stuff to do. Because the larger you get, the more, I believe, the more polluted it can be, in the sense of there's so much more to deal with, and so much more red tape to deal with. When it's your own business, it's much more simplified.
But as far as your daughter is concerned, or anybody else is go and work in the corporate business for a few years.
Try it out.
What you're going to learn.
Yes.
Right? What you're going to learn now, you will apply to your own business.
You will, exactly.
The structure, the wisdom, the knowledge, the this and that. And, everybody that I've interviewed that's walked away from corporate, they've taken those same skills and then put them into something that they love. And they've made it something that has been not only profitable, but something they can continue to do with love. But they have the structure from what they learned at the corporation.
So, there's always things to learn and use, and I say it's about taking what you need from it and using it that will benefit you, and losing what doesn't serve you.
And if you are entrepreneurial mind, then you get your book and you talk to you, because you're already, I don't want a corporate thing, I want to go and do it on my own. What are my building blocks? This is my idea. And then talk with someone like you who's seasoned, who's got the tools, yes, these are good building blocks. This is how we can put it together. So you've got to look inside yourself. Do I need the experience behind me in order to build this sure-footedly? Am I entrepreneurial? I've always been entrepreneurially. So are you your own boss? And therefore you're going to take accountability, responsibility, and everything else for what you build. But you've got to know what's my makeup, and go accordingly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be hard on yourself as well, because you will have down days, and you
will have people that will like to give you down days. So just, ignore them.
Ignore them. Yeah, exactly. I remember when I first decided I was going to start out, and my aunt said to me, are you sure, if it doesn't work in the first year, just go back and get a job, just like, it's fine. I will be fine. You just got to have your own faith in yourself. And sometimes, you have to block them out, literally.
And if it means something to you, I mean, when I started doing this, it was one show on another network. Now I have my own network and 2,000 shows here. And, if it means something to you, you're going to grow with it.
with it.
It doesn't mean, in 5 years, this is going to be this. It's nice to have a 5-year trajectory, but that doesn't mean it's going to be that way.
Exactly.
I've grown with the station, and I've grown to where it wanted to go, what it ignited in me, of what I saw that was needed from this. And that thing is, allow your business to lead you as well. Don't always be the leader of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Be flexible in the approach to that, for sure. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Keep the heart connection, because that's what will keep it going, right?
Yeah, keep the heart and be honest. Just be true to yourself. And I think you can't go wrong with that,
So, how do people get the book? How do they find you? How do they book you?
Okay, well, in terms of finding me, my website is ebonygaylecommunications.com. And on there, you can contact me on there in terms of services, so booking for consultancy or coaching. I offer both, and you can just drop me a line. I can provide you with some details there. I'm currently in the process of trying to update and upstream my my website, hence my issues I had before.
Yes.
So I was literally trying to put on a booking form, and then some of it sent it completely out of Word. So I'm still trying to get that together. So drop me an email. Good old trusty email will get you through to me, no problem. Or send me a tweet at Ebony Gayle PR, and that's Gayle for the surname, and it's EBONY. So Ebony Gayle PR. In terms of the book, it is available on Amazon. So UK and across all the platforms, actually. In terms of the reviews, all the reviews on the UK one, it's been selling quite well here. For you guys, it will be on .com. You can grab it there. It's titled How to Become a Consultant, a Guide to Free Yourself from the 9 to 5. From myself, so you can grab one on there. In terms of my DIY PR course, that's on the website, so that's ebonygaylecommunications.com. Twitter, like I said, is at Ebony Gayle PR. Instagram at Ebony Gayle PR, and on LinkedIn, you can just put in Ebony Gayle and add me on there. You'll find me. I think that.
And your new Facebook
apart from my own personal, actually. Oh, my Facebook group. My personal Twitter, if you want to add that, is at Star, has an STAREBS, Star Ebs, okay? And YouTube, I've just started a YouTube channel, and it's basically called 9 to 5 Work Rebels, because I'm against the whole 9 to 5 thing, okay? So I've just started that, so please do subscribe. I'm going to be doing some videos about becoming a consultant and also exploring other ways that you can escape the 9 to 5 as well.
Right.
So, and
did you say you had a Facebook group that you've just started?
I do, and my Facebook group is also the same title, so 9 to 5 Work Rebels. So if you just type that into the URL in Facebook, you'll find it there. The actual page says free self from the 9 to 5, but the URL is different for some reason. But it's fine. It's all 9 to 5 Work Rebels type work. Okay, so join me there. You can follow that page there. If you're interested in more information on DIY PR, there's also a DIY PR page that I created on my on Facebook as well. So you can add that, and that's DIY PR. So feel free to, at me and send me any questions, tweet me, send me an Instagram, whatever you like, with any queries in terms of information about coaching, in terms of escaping the 9 to 5, which is what I'm offering, as well as any sort of consultancy on doing your own DIY PR, because I do coaching alongside that to make sure you are hitting your targets. Okay.
Right. Yes.
All right.
You're on the right track.
On the right track, indeed.
And come on in. Yes, there are the hard days, but gosh, there are those hard days in corporate, and those hard days, you have the power to rectify them.
You do.
When you're in a big corporation and that 9 to 5, sometimes you just have no voice at all.
No.
You have your own voice in your own corporation, even though sometimes you don't like what you're hearing yourself saying.
Yeah, it's true. But, I always think of this. I always say to friends and family and colleagues that look at it this way. If you're scared and you're thinking about taking a leap, what would you want your legacy to be? Think about it this way. At the end of the day, we're all on this time on this earth for a period of time. We don't know how long. Okay, so tomorrow isn't promised. So make yourself happy now. Okay, don't keep waiting. Sometimes we have these things where we buy stuff and we put it off. We won't have that. We have that special occasion, and we won't wear this until it's a special occasion. That occasion doesn't always come for some people. So do you want to be one of those people? How about you live your life? And I always think about what would you have on your tombstone? Oh, well, so-and-so worked here for 45 years. I don't think that's going to be on your tombstone. Right. So think about what you're doing and what you're doing for your life, And I know the truth is a lot of people, I feel like, give up on their dreams when they get into the workforce. for different reasons. But, whether you're 25 or 45, you can change at any particular point. You can change direction, and you can be living the life that you really want to do. Okay. You just got to have faith in yourself and confidence and to go for it. It's your life. Take control. And remember, you are responsible for your happiness.
Exactly. And here on Self-Discovery Radio TV are primarily people of 40 plus that have right up to 86 who have been willing to change their life in a different direction of meaningful purpose. So we are never too old.
Never too old.
It is never over until it's over. It's if you want to do it, just get up and do it.
Yeah, do it. Take your steps and do it, okay? Yeah. And understand that it's your life, make yourself happy. Make yourself happy.
And that domino effect of you being happy trickles down on everyone you know. Everyone you know.
It does.
So you're doing people a service by doing something you love doing because you're happy, as opposed to working in a 9-to-5 where you're bitching about your job all the time.
Exactly, exactly. And not to mention the health implications that having a 9-to-5 seems to be having in people. Yes. And that's another thing that I do, folks. I give speaking engagements. I do talks. So if you want me to come over, let me know. So one of the things I talk about is the health implications. So not only is traveling to work for us in London, for example, commuting is a nightmare.
Yes.
Okay, people end up in work stressed out. Then you're not eating properly. You're having lunch at your desk. Maybe something that's not really healthy. Your work causes you stress. And then we wonder why there's so many of us having illnesses these days, because it's all a combination. You're not physically moving around. If you're depressed and stressed, it works from the inside out, so you've always got to think about your health, and your health is the most important. Your job does not come before your health. Okay. Remember that as well.
The number one problem of all diseases right now is stress. It sets up, the heart, the diabetes, the this, the that. It's number one is the stress. And we are so stressed as a human nation. And we just need to look, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Why do we do it to ourselves? That's the key question. And most of the time it is because someone's trying to make ends meet. And, but either way, our main thing is we're going to have to make ends meet, but we shouldn't have to be the
it shouldn't cost us our lives to do
Exactly.
Right. So we can be happy. We can have it all. But all we've got to do is look at what that all is. Is it the six-figure corporate thing where you're slave to the corporate? Or is it less money where you're happier and more fulfilled and still, living in a beautiful, abundant life?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you've got to ask yourself. And also not to be fooled by what is the perfect life according to the media and what's being sent to us through society, Create yourself.
The perfect life is living and doing what you love to do.
What you love to do.
That has you a much happier person around the people you love.
Yes.
And that is bringing enough money in to be able to sustain that life.
Yes.
And and know that you're contributing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the true abundance. Right.
Indeed.
Well, this has been wonderful, Ebony. Thank you.
I've loved it. It's been great.
Yeah, great. And with so much information here, folks, share this show with other people, like people, your family or people that you're discussing with about starting up your own business, share it and then have a conversation about it, because shared knowledge brings in abundant wisdom. And it doesn't mean you have to take everything on, but it is about, having your options, hearing it from other people's perspectives, having other people encouraging you. It is all achievable. It's just a question of how you go about it. And first, the right attitude along with the heart connection will get you where you need to go, and along with help from Ebony.
Hey, absolutely.
Well, thanks so much, love.
Oh, thank you.
To everyone else, remember, if you've got a dream, if there's something you want to do, please do not make excuses. Everything is possible. It's just, you've got to, just as I said, put the heart and the mind together and let the spirit fly, and you'll see what is possible. So until next time, folks, bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.